We've been speaking a lot about the disciples' cross, and we've spoken a little bit about living in the Word and praying in faith and abiding with Christ. Now I'd like to speak about the one of witnessing to the world. A lot of people are a little bit concerned about this. They're afraid to tell other people about their faith. And some say, well, I just don't have the gift of being an evangelist. That's right. Only a few people have the gift of being an evangelist. But every Christian is called to be a witness for Jesus Christ, to share your faith with other people. And in this time, I want to share with you several ways that you can effectively share your faith with people. The most important and the most primary and basic way is for you to give your testimony. All you have to do is just to say, let me tell you about my life. I want to tell you what God has done for me. And you start off with what life was like before you were a Christian, how you became a Christian, and what life is like now. Very simply, before, now, and after. Now, this is very good if an individual became a Christian later on in life. For instance, I did not become a Christian until I was 18 years of age, and I was already a college student in the university. And so when I give a testimony, I can say, this is what happened to me before. Now I became a Christian. Now this is my life afterwards. It's very simple. My wife, however, is a little bit different. My wife grew up in a Christian home, and she believes that she gave her life to Christ when she was 5 years of age. Now, of course, with her, she can't say a lot before she became a Christian. She wasn't a terrible, awful sinner. She became a Christian early, and she can't quite remember the exact time that she gave her life to Christ. That's a little bit like crossing the Mississippi. We have here in the United States a very important river called the Mississippi River. And it starts way up in the northern part of the United States, and it goes down to the city of New Orleans in Louisiana. At New Orleans, I believe it's about 5 miles across. It's a very wide river. Up where it begins, I think in Wisconsin or in Michigan, it's just a little tiny stream. Now, somebody says, I'm going to cross the Mississippi River. And maybe they're on the western side and they start going to the east. And pretty soon, a person stops up there in Michigan and says, you know, I just crossed the Mississippi River. I don't know when, but I crossed it and I'm on the other side now. They can't really define it. That's a little bit like an individual who became a Christian later on. But if you cross the Mississippi River in New Orleans, you said, I crossed the Mississippi from 6 o'clock in the morning on a certain date until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I swam 5 miles. You remember it. You remember all the details. So it depends on the type of experience you have, but you simply give your testimony. I remember one time I was driving from Switzerland up to Germany, and at the border there was a young man from Sweden. Nice-looking, tan young man, blonde hair. He was and very good physique, and he was hitchhiking. So I said, yeah, come on, I'll take you up as far as I'm going in Germany. So he was very appreciative. And I thought that I would try and witness to him. So I tried to start some conversations about witnessing. He wasn't interested. I'm not interested in religion. No, I don't like that. It doesn't mean anything to me. And so finally, as we were driving along, I said, you know, let me tell you what happened to me. And I just very simply shared with him my testimony. He said, you know, that's interesting. Tell me more. Because it meant something to him to hear an individual who had actually become a Christian. And so the easiest way to do that is simply to share your testimony. Now, if you're going to try another method, there's 2 questions that you can ask. We call these investigative questions. The first question is this: when you die, where are you going to go? Everybody is going to die. And everybody thinks about this. And so you can very simply start and say, when you die, where are you going to go? Now, the answer gives you an idea of where they're at. Most people will say, well, I don't know for sure. Or I hope I go to heaven. I'm not sure. I don't even think there is any of that. They'll give all kinds of answers. But the person that's a Christian will say, I know where I'm going. I'm going to heaven. Why? Because the Bible says this. Those who have confessed the Lord Jesus Christ will go into heaven. They have that assurance that they're going to heaven. But when you die, where are you going to go? I remember I asked a fellow one time who ran a pizzeria in Germany. And I said, when you die, where are you going to go? He says, I know where I'm going to go. I says, oh, really? Where? I think he must be a Christian because he was so dogmatic about it. He says, I know where I'm going to go. Where are you going to go? I'm going to go straight to hell. I'm a terrible person. I've done so many bad things. I'm going to go to hell. Well, that gave me a tremendous opportunity to say, well, what about if I could help you not to go to hell, but to go to heaven? So this is a very important question to say, where are you going to go when you die? Another question that's very helpful is this one. If when you die, you go up to the gates where St. Peter there is guarding heaven, and St. Peter says to you, why should I let you into heaven? What's going to be your answer? Well, that's a very important question. What's going to be your answer? And to us, the answer is you've given your life to Christ. A lot of people will say, well, I've done good works, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. And they begin to name their works. But the works are not important. I was over in Europe one time, and I started playing a game called squash. It's about like racquetball. You've got two people playing in a room with the ball going against the wall and back again. And it was interesting because I was playing at a seminary, and the other guys that were the students hadn't played very much, and so I could beat them. And a squash game lasts for 9 points, and then you play 5 games, and whoever wins the best 3 out of 5 wins. And so you play 9 points for 1 game, and then you play 5 games. And I had all these students there, and I was pretty good. I was pretty athletic. And so I would play against all these students, and I would always win. And the student says, don't play with Dr. Wagner, he'll beat you. Well, I was feeling real good. They were going to have a tournament there at the place where we were playing squash. And they had 3 different levels. They had level A, which were the really good ones, B, which were the intermediate, and C, which were the poorer ones. And I didn't know whether to register myself for B or for C, and I didn't know which was the best. So what I did is I was talking to another guy that wasn't a student, but he played squash. And I said, are you going to play in the tournament? He said, yes. And I said, oh, which of the categories are you going to play in? He said, C. I said, oh, okay. And I thought, well, the guy's probably not very good. And I said, did you play last year? He said, yeah. I said, how did you do? He says, I was about in the middle. I said, okay. Do you want to play a game of squash? He said, yeah, I've got some time. So we went in and played a game of squash, I against him. The score was 9-0, 9-0, 9-0. He totally massacred me. And I said, you mean you were a C player? He said, yeah. He said, then there's the B players and the A, and there's the trophies. I was so bad, I didn't realize how bad I was. Now, let's just assume that there's a ladder that goes to heaven. It has 100 rungs on it. And you want to get to heaven by your good works. You might go up a rung for every good work you do. How far do you think you're going to get to heaven by your good works? I would imagine that Mother Teresa would get up to rung 60. Billy Graham would probably get up to rung 55. How far are you going to get up? You don't have too much of a chance getting up with your good works. You're not going to get to heaven by your good works. Well, we go on a little bit further, and the next thing is that there is a method called the Roman Road. And there are 6 verses of Scripture in the book of Romans that you can use, and you might want to put these down. These 6 scriptures that show you how you can lead somebody to Christ. The first one is Romans 3:23. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. All have sinned. And so when you're talking to somebody, you say, have you ever sinned? Yes. Do you realize that all have sinned and come short of the glory of God? The second one is the wages of sin is death. but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Now, this is a method I use quite often, and I will invite somebody to come up, and I will say, I'd like to talk to you. And I do this a lot of times with people that I'm trying to win to Christ. And I will say to them, do you look at this? Do you know what it is? Yes. What is it? It's a dollar bill. Does it have any value? Well, a little bit. Okay. Then I will say to that person, what I would like to do is I would like to give you a gift. This is a gift from me to you. I want to give this to you. Do you believe it? Well, yeah. Then I will hold the dollar bill out. And the reactions are very interesting by these different people. Some people will say, oh, this is a trick. You're not going to give it to me. Well, that's all right. I'm not going to give it. I'll give it to you if you want it. Well, I don't know. Other people will come and they'll take it immediately. Most of the people will put their hand out and say, okay, give it to me. They want me to drop it in to their hands. And I say, no. Here is a dollar bill. If you want it, you have to take it. And then they'll say, okay, now it's yours. But you had to take it. Now, the Bible says in Romans 6:23, the wages of sin is death. All have sinned, and you have sinned. And because you have sinned, you will die. But the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Now, just like you took this dollar, you have that dollar now. You can have eternal life through Jesus Christ. But you have to take it. God will not force it upon you. You have to reach up and take it if you want to have it. Then there's the one that says, whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And that's the, third one is, for Christ died for the sinner, Romans 5:8. And then the next one is, whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And that's Romans 10:13. And then there's Romans 10:9-10. And it says, for with the mouth confession is made unto righteousness, but with the heart man believeth unto salvation. That if you want to give your life to Christ, you must confess with your mouth and say, I accept you, Christ Jesus, as my Lord and my Savior, and believe in your heart, and you will be saved. And then there's Romans 8:1. There is no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus our Lord. So if you take these 8 scriptures and memorize them, and take a Bible and show to that person these scriptures, and let them read these scriptures, that is probably the simplest biblical way that we have of you being able to be a witness to somebody. I do give another story, and let me just give this story to you very briefly because it works a lot. It's a story about a tightrope walker, and there was a Frenchman that came to the United States, and he was the world's most famous tightrope walker. And he had put a tightrope across the Niagara Falls, a wire. And many people came to watch him walk out on this tightrope, including the President of the United States. And they were all on this, on the side, kind of watching this tightrope walker. And the tightrope walker came out and he said to the people there, do you believe that I can walk on this tightrope to the middle and come back? And everybody said, yes, we believe. And then the man said, picked out one kind of heavy-set man in the front and says, do you believe I can do that? And the man says, I believe. So the tightrope walker walked out into the middle, turned around and walked back. And he had a balancing bar in his hand. And they all clapped and said, you're the greatest tightrope walker in the world. And he said, do you believe I can do that without a balancing bar in my hand? And he asked this man, do you believe? He said, yes. So the tightrope walker walked out there in the middle without the balancing bar, walked back. They clapped and said, you're the greatest tightrope walker in the world. He said, do you believe I can do that pushing a wheelbarrow? And he had a special wheelbarrow with a special type of a wheel. And everybody says, we believe. And he asked this man, do you believe? He said, yes. And so he got the wheelbarrow and he pushed it out there in the middle. And he walked backwards with the wheelbarrow. And they clapped and said, "You're the greatest tightrope walker in the world." And he said, "Do you believe I can do that with a man in the wheelbarrow?" And they all said, "Yes, we believe." And he asked this man, "Do you believe?" He said, "Yes, I believe you can." He said, "Climb in." He says, "No, I don't believe." Now, that's the difference. You can believe in Jesus Christ. You can believe that he existed. You can believe that he's a good teacher. But until you're willing to give your life over completely to him, this belief will not satisfy. It will not be all that you need. Jesus Christ has told us that we are to be witnesses in the world to all that we know.